Hi there, welcome to Koala Gardens. I'm Katrina and I have spent hours working on preparing and getting ready to show you 30 fantastic koala facts for September. September is Save the Koala Month, and that's what I'm all about here at Koala Gardens, doing everything I can to save our beautiful koalas. Fact number one. Cute as a teddy bear. They're not even a little bit related to bears. Did you know that nearly every native mammal in Australia is a marsupial? Marsupials are mammals, and it could be said that koalas are barely related, but they got called bears because the white invaders to Australia presumed they were related to bears because they thought they looked a little bit like them. Well, we're going to investigate what it means to be a marsupial. Fact 2, there are many names for the koala, as there are hundreds of Aboriginal languages, and they all mean something along the lines of no drink, because koalas rarely drink free water on the ground. The name given to the koala in this area here, so that's the Bundjalung name, is pronounced Burribi. There's some other names that are used in different Aboriginal languages around Australia, such as Kolo, Kolu, Kula, Kola, Kubo, Kula, and Kola. So they're probably some of the Aboriginal words that we use to create our English version, koala. Fact number 3. Once upon, about 250 or so years ago, there were huge dense forests that were made up of 30 and 40 metre high trees, and in the canopies of these amazing forests lived millions and millions and millions of koalas. They tended to the dense canopy by eating huge amounts of leaf, and that reduces the risk of fire in those forests. Can you even begin to imagine seeing koalas in such numbers? Recently, I was walking around the property with a patron from Germany, and we were talking as we walked in the sun, which was quite hot, and then we walked down a path and under the canopy of the trees, and the change in air temperature and even in the air moisture was immediate. Fact 4, marsupials are marvellously amazing. Instead of a long pregnancy with an umbilical cord that feeds the thriving little fetus, the tiny little pink joey is born after just 35 days, and it's the size of a jelly bean. It's blind, has no ears, stubby little legs and arms, no claws or fur, and this little miracle climbs up into mum's pouch and attaches to a teat to drink milk. Can you believe it? Now let's have a look at a little comparison here between a little koala that's just been born and a human fetus that is about the same size. One of the things that we can see here is that because koala joeys drink from a teat while they're in the pouch rather than umbilical cord inside a uterus, they have no belly button. I have to say, doing what I do would absolutely not be possible without the support that I get by my fantastic Patreon supporters, my Keeping in the Loop adopters, and now the wonderful people who are even giving super thanks to me. And I'm thrilled to say that already through the Super Thanks program on YouTube and through the ads with the monetization, just in the last few weeks, I've raised $100 towards the new camera equipment that I need. That's really exciting to me. I've already put some of my money aside, some money aside from tours that I have come through the property, and I don't think it's going to take all that long to have this new camera and be able to showcase the koalas to you even better than ever. So to all that have been giving us super thanks, I am making note of it, I can tell you, but to all of you I'll just say collectively for now, super thank you so much. Fact 5, I bet that you already knew that kangaroo babies are called a joey, and the koala baby is also called a joey, but we use that name for all the babies of the different marsupials. It's kind of like all different dog babies are called puppies, and all the feline babies are called kittens, and so marsupial babies are called joeys. And that means that all joeys are born as little jelly beans, develop inside a pouch, drinking milk. I wonder how many different marsupials in Australia you know. Fact 6, that little pink jelly bean grows quite rapidly inside Mum's pouch. At first, the teat swells so much that Joey can't even let go, but is drip-fed Mum's precious milk 24 hours a day. As Joey grows and develops fur, eyes, ears and strength, it reaches a size where it can let go of the teat and wriggle about in the pouch and then find the teat again. Joey lives in here for about 6 months, never fully coming out, but sometimes they do peek out or we see a little hand or a foot hanging out. And sometimes when Joey has first started coming out of the pouch is still being so stretched that it can just look like this weird squishy mess. That is Phoenix sitting on top of a squished racy pouch. Fact number 7, what a miracle of nature this one is. Joey needs the beneficial bacteria to be able to move from drinking milk to eating those tough eucalyptus leaves for the first time. And so Mum produces a special gooey mixture called pap that's full of all these bacteria, and Joey sticks their head out of the pouch and eats this from Mum for a week or two until they find they can manage to eat the leaves. And koalas are the only marsupials that produce pap. Fact 8, when Joey first crawls into Mum's pouch, the milk is very thick and Joey can only take a drop or two at a time. And that milk changes and becomes thinner. And then once Joey has papped and starts eating leaves, they still continue to drink some milk each day. And they have to wean off until they're getting close to 1 year old. That teat is producing a special kind of milk too, which is called colostrum. And as Joey is growing, that milk slowly becomes a little bit thinner and thinner. And that's a bit like us when we first give birth to a baby. We produce a special milk called colostrum. And here's an extra bonus fact about koalas only. None of the other marsupials. The koala has 2 teats in their pouch and they can produce different milk in each teat. So that mum could give birth to a new little pinky and it could latch on to the second teat and drink colostrum, and the joey on her back could still reach its head in and drink from its teat that would be producing older joey milk. How amazing is that? Other animals like cows and goats and sheep and even wombats, their young begin to change over from milk to grass or some kind of leaf digestion by nibbling dirt and getting bacteria into their system that way. But high up in the trees, those little baby joeys don't have access to dirt, so Mum has solved the problem. Fact 9, we call joeys back young once they come out of the pouch and begin riding on mum's back. At first they just stay in mum's lap and hold on to her tummy sometimes to ride around, but as they develop more strength, they begin to ride on mum's back, and they'll still do that at times until they're close to a year old. Sometimes if mum's got to change from one big tree over to another, even a big Joey will still get on her back. And they do this until they're around 2 kilos. And I can tell you the strain on mum is really quite large, because mum might only weigh about 6 kilos. So that Joey weighs a large percentage of mum's body weight when it gets to time to say, stop, you're too big, go look after yourself. Fact 10. Primates are animals like us, monkeys, apes, lemurs, and one of the features of primates are their unique fingerprints, and only primates have this. Oh, and koalas. Fact 11, and I bet you all know this one. Koalas have 2 definite opposable thumbs on each hand. They have 3 fingers, so they still have 5 digits like we do. But these 2 thumbs really assist them in climbing around, as does another feature of the koala hand. And with 2 thumbs, they're able to achieve a stronger and more balanced grip on the wide trunks and thinner branches. Fact 12, you could almost say koalas are all thumbs, because they also have a well-defined opposable thumb on their foot. Now this gives them a huge advantage in the treetops, as they can actually hold on to branches with their feet alone and stand up there using their hands to gather branches and leaves with their hands and get them to their mouth. What you might notice too is that that foot thumb is the only digit that has no claw at all. Fact 13, the koala foot really is something to get fascinated with. As well as that amazing thumb, the next 2 digits are fused together. The skin covers them both as though they are one toe, but you can see clearly that there are still 2 claws at the end, and these make a handy dandy grooming tool, and you often will see bits of fur stuck in them, and it's like, would you please go and clean your brush? Fact 14, those claws are awesome, aren't they? This is the other feature besides the 2 thumbs that give koalas the advantage when they're climbing trees and when they're out and about in the treetops. Their claws stay out like that all the time. They don't retract like a cat's do, and they stay sharp all their life. You can see how the claws have left marks in this forest red gum tree from koalas climbing up and down the tree. They're most effective for climbing, but they are also weapons they can use to defend themselves. Fact 15, well, we've been seeing some amazing facts about the way koala hands and feet enable them to live in the treetop. And the word arboreal means living in the trees. So this is why habitat is so critical. The trees are everything to the koala. That's their shelter, their place of safety, and it is their only food source. Fact 16, well, those amazing hands and feet help the koala to grip and get a hold of the leaf. But the koala arms do way more work than their legs when it comes to climbing. A healthy koala has large arms, which they use to propel themselves up the tree trunks, while their legs give extra stability and a bit of a push. Fact 17, while it might look different and even dangerous maybe, it actually takes less energy to take a flying leap across a few meters than it does to climb down 10 or 15 metres and then all the way back up again. Koalas are very good at calculating distances and angles to take these flying leaps in the treetops. And it's very important that they conserve energy as much as they can, and we'll talk about why that is a little bit further down our beautiful list of facts. Fact 18. 18 to 22 hours a day is a lot of sleep indeed. Koalas don't always sleep deeply at the time. In fact, a lot of that time they're just snoozing, and they are considered nocturnal. But really, their cycle of being awake and asleep is completely dictated by their stomach. So they need to eat the next meal. What that means is they fill themselves up as full as they can, and they sleep and snooze until they need to eat again. And that's going to be a little bit different every time. So we can't predict exactly what time koalas will be awake. Fact 19, now look, I still don't know how they are comfortable, but there's this hard pad of cartilage across their lower back, and it's kind of like carrying a seat with you. So when they rest in a tree, you'll notice that they kind of sit and then do a little roll back a bit so that they sit most of the time on that hard pad. Their closest cousin, the wombat, has this feature too, but the wombat uses theirs for an entirely different reason. If a wombat gets scared, they'll run to one of their tunnels, dive into it, go in a little way, and then they'll just stop and block that tunnel off using that big hard cartilage pad, and then anything that's chasing them can't get to them. The sinus cavities of koalas are just amazing. For us, our sinus cavities run underneath our eyes and across our cheeks. And if you've ever had a bit of a cold, you'd know that that's where you feel all blocked up and stuffy in the head. With the koala, they run up above the eyebrows and up across the forehead area of their head, and they are huge. It allows the koala to use their nose like a chemical laboratory, testing the makeup of every leaf. The eucalyptols in the leaf are actually poisonous, and if we ate those leaves, we'd die. It would kill us. But even koalas need to measure the levels for their own safety. Oh ho, those boys. They are really obvious when we get to see the chest of a male koala, because they have this big dirty mark going down their chest, and that's actually an oily gland that produces this smelly, oily, musky koala smell. People ask me, what does it smell like? And I can only say it smells like koala. Now the male koala rubs his chest onto the tree trunks, leaving an oily stamp of ownership on there. This stamp tells every koala that comes near the tree many things about the koala that left it, including how big they are, how often they came here, when they were here last. It contains pheromones that give a host of information, and koalas can recognize the smell of individuals that they know. The bigger and stronger the alpha male, the stronger the smell and the longer it lasts. Koalas do nearly everything through a sense of smell, and so using an oily scent marker makes a lot of sense for koalas. But they do also mark their territory by bellowing. It's amazing to hear that noise out in the bush, and many people get quite scared and think that it's wild pigs or imagine some other scary animal And Australians who know what they're hearing just give a big laugh and say, nah, that's just a koala. Fact 22, if you got a shopping tote bag and stuffed it full of all the leaves you could get into it, that's about how many a koala needs to eat through every single day. It doesn't weigh a lot, but it's a lot of tough leaf munching, and any one koala meal can take an hour or more because of the just sitting and munching through the leaves. Fact 23, I still get asked this reasonably regularly, and it is definitely, absolutely not true. It is a myth that koalas get drunk or high or stoned on the eucalyptus leaves. They can sure look like they've passed out because they're drunk, and they certainly sleep in some of the strangest positions, but the leaves do not contain alcohol or any kind of narcotic. What it's really about is, by the time they fill their stomach as absolutely much as possible, they are exhausted from an hour or more of just sitting and chewing, and they drape themselves in the branches to stay stable and sleep to assist in their digestion. Fact 24 fascinates me. Koalas are hind gut fermenters. Now, there's not many animals that digest this way. The most common that you might know are the horse, the rhinoceros, and the rabbit. So koalas are not ruminants, which is what a cow or a goat is. They have a stomach like ours, which has got acid in it, and they have small intestines and large intestines. But most of the digestion actually happens in between the stomach and the intestines in a place called the cecum. Now, the cecum for us is this tiny little 1-inch long thing we call the appendix, and it's pretty useless. In the koala, it is a whopping 2 meters long. It's filled with billions and billions of special bacteria that break down the cellulose wall in all of those leaves so that the koala can digest the nutrition inside. No wonder a healthy koala has such a big round belly. They are not fat, they have a cecum full of leaves being digested. Fact 25 is about the actual leaves, because I think it's important to understand that eucalyptus leaves have got lots of nutrition in them, but hardly any calories. Calories are the things that we need to burn up for energy. This is why koalas have to conserve energy as much as possible, and the best way to conserve energy is to sleep or just nap and snooze away. That's why they sleep so long, because it actually takes energy to digest food, and so in order to conserve energy to let all that digestion of that huge full stomach of leaves to happen, they sleep. Fact 26. Well, if we just rewind a bit and think about how once upon a time there were huge forests filled with trees and koalas with a big thick canopy where koalas could just jump from branch to branch. Back then they almost never came down to the ground, and they were safe up there in their homes. Now, sometimes koalas can't even see the next tree that they need to get to eat from, and so they have to climb all the way down to the ground and move through a scary landscape of dogs, big livestock, busy humans, children running around, lots of noise, and even cars on the road. It is a very different world to what they expect to find. And in evolution thinking, it hasn't been very long since their landscape very suddenly changed, and that puts them at huge risk when they're on the ground. And that's one of the big reasons that we need to get lots of trees happening again, because our koalas just are at too much risk down on the ground. Fact 27. We need to understand that that wonderful thick fur coats koalas have actually insulates them. It doesn't make them hot. It protects them from the hot summer sun, as well as it keeps the warmth in during the winter. And so when it gets too hot out there, what the koala does to cool down is they drape themselves on thick branches, or they sit right up next to a big tree trunk and they hug it, getting the coolness of the branch or trunk against the thinnest part of their fur, which is on their bellies. Now, next time you see a big tree somewhere on a hot day, don't worry about what people might think. You go right up to that tree and lay the palms of your hands flat against the trunk and see just how cool it is. So when the koala gets all that coolness against the front of their bodies, their thick coat insulates them from losing that coolness, and they can cool down quite a lot. You know what? They don't pant like a dog because they can't afford to lose all that moisture. Fact 28, koalas do not seek shelter. So when we see a koala out in the rain, it's not, oh, poor koala. The koala really doesn't care. They stay in the trees at all times, and they use their wonderfully thick, waterproof, insulating coat to protect them. What they do is they curl up in a ball, close their eyes, and sleep the storms out. I don't know how many times I have seen huge storms approaching and have gone out to look for the koalas and have found the koalas are sitting in exactly the same spot they were in hours and hours and hours before, taking no notice of the fact a storm is coming. They actually will often take advantage when it's really windy to get that opportunity to reach even more leaves. They'll stay very still while it is raining, keeping their heads down, and as soon as the rain stops, they'll be up and in the very treetops, eating while the leaf is nice and wet. Fact number 29. Well, this year, the extinction status of the koala was changed from vulnerable to endangered. Endangered means they are in even more trouble. There is even less of them, which gives them an even harder time in managing to build their numbers back up. So this means that no matter what people like myself and so many other Australians are doing, koalas are facing being lost to even more human crises than ever. We're not giving up. We are never stopping. Koala Gardens is adamantly dedicated to working with other private landowners, community members, children, schools and government departments to turn this around and see that koalas have the habitat they deserve as a sentient being that, let's face it, was here first. They own the country as much, well, probably more than any human being. They just have no voice. One of the things that I do here on the internet is I give the koalas a voice. And so I've often been heard to say, and I will keep on saying it until we win, if we can't save the cutest animal in the world, what's going to happen to the rest and what is going to happen to us. Koalas truly are the most amazing and beautifully unique animal. It is critical that no more trees are cut down. Planting new trees is not the answer. Doing billions of dollars of research is not the answer. Building hospitals for koalas is not the answer. There is only one answer that addresses the actual cause of koalas facing extinction, and that answer is that right now, today, old growth trees must be protected, or we are just wasting our time and our money. Trees, trees, and more trees, and keeping the old trees is the most critical thing that we can push our government and help our private landowners to do. I hope that you have enjoyed this beautiful roundup of 30 koala facts to celebrate Save the Koala September. I've already thought of some changes I'm going to make to add new facts in next year, even though I'll have to keep it to 30 for the 30 days of September. So make lots of comments, ask more questions down below, and I'll make note of all of that for the video and the fact list that I produce next year as we continue working together to save koalas. That was 30 facts, and that took about 30 minutes, but it was well worth it, wasn't it? How many things did you learn? I bet you learned heaps, because even while I was preparing all of this, I learned more and more things about koalas, and that just fascinates me. There is never a time when I will know everything about our beautiful animals. Another way that you can support Koala Gardens is by treating yourself or a friend to some of the beautiful merchandise that's available over at Redbubble. There's a link you can click on in the description below, and a huge range both of designs and of types of merchandise that you could get koala things on. Go and have a look. Cars, cars, cars. I hate that I can hear the road out here when there aren't cars going by. It is just the most peaceful, beautiful air that's clean, birds chirping, and then human life shows its face to me yet again.